This is a conversation about feminism, and it's about whether or not this rocket helped the cause of women in feminism in any way. So I want you to listen in and then give me your point of view. This is about Blue Origin, the space company that's owned by Amazon's owner, Jeff Bezos. And he launched the first ever all-female space flight. But the women who went up in this space flight were not space engineers or astronauts. They were celebrities. There was Katy Perry, who's a pop icon, CBS presenter Gayle King, who's also Oprah Winfrey's best friend. There's a film producer, a former NASA engineer, and importantly, Lauren Sanchez, who calls herself pilot, journalist, author, but really in this context, she's also Jeff Bezos's fiance. Now, the media called this a historic, monumental feminist movement for 6 women to go up in one rocket just at the border of the Earth's atmosphere and space, and then come straight back in 11 minutes. So is it really women's empowerment, or is it a photo op in a very fancy looking spacesuit? That's the question that we're actually asking. So let me tell you what happened. 14th of April, these 6 women got into this New Shepard Blue Origin autonomous reusable suborbital rocket, and for 11 minutes they went to the boundary of the Earth's atmosphere and space, which is 100 kilometers above sea level, and then they came straight back. Now, this is the second all-women spaceflight in history after 1963, when a Soviet-era mission happened. But there was a difference there. That was space exploration. Now, what's the difference between these two things? Exploration is about pushing the understanding of scientific frontiers, to understand space, to understand Earth. It's about developing critical technologies. This is space tourism, which is wealthy individuals paying a large amount of money for a joyride, and that's really what it is, to the end of the atmosphere and back. So while Blue Origin is calling it a trailblazing moment for women, is it really a marker in history? Let's take a look at 2 main things. One is what this costed, and second, what it was like, right? So what it costed. The trip, apparently, to book and reserve your seat in what is effectively like an Uber, costs about $150,000, which is 1.5 crore rupees to book your seat. But those tickets, we don't know what it costed in terms of actual cost. But we know that in the past, these tickets have been auctioned for $28 million or 234 crore Indian rupees. That is the cost of this joyride that's supposed to have made a statement for feminism. What is the price we had to pay as an entire human race? So this is the money that they may have paid or someone has paid for them. But what did we pay in order to make this happen? That is the cost of climate change, right? And it was really interesting because Katy Perry was singing Our Beautiful Earth, and she was like, oh my God, the Earth is so beautiful. But what did it cost the Earth, which is a price we will each have to pay? A single 11-minute space tourism flight on an average emits 75 tons of carbon per passenger, and that's roughly 274 tons of CO2, which is equal to 1 person in Thailand for the whole year. And apparently this New Shepard rocket uses water vapor. It doesn't emit CO2 like other rockets, but the damage is not zero because it still impacts climate. It impacts the ozone layer, especially at high altitude. Apparently the University College London study said soot from these rockets in the upper atmosphere has a warming effect that's 500 times greater than that of jet fuel emissions. So what was the real need is what everybody's arguing for this, because it doesn't, change the way we scientifically understand the universe. Was it just a joyride? And if we consider the impact on feminism, which is the core conversation, really, women across the world right now are, and research has shown this, when there is conflict, when there is war, when there is climate change, when there's poverty, it is the women that get impacted more because of various reasons. You can look this up. So poverty, war, sexual assault, the gender pay gap, where women across the world still make 83 cents to the dollar when it comes to men. Climate change that impacts women more. When the water runs out, when the temperature goes up, when disease happens, it's actually women who have to fend for their families. Does this help their causes or actually make it worse? That's a conversation I will leave to you. Secondly, what this looks like. We've already discussed what the spacecraft looks like, and someone approved that design. We'll step aside from it, and again, I'll leave that to you. But the sleek jumpsuits, the perfect hair, they were stylishly unzipped halfway. The whole look was curated for the camera. It was more like a red carpet than an actual mission. I agree that if a woman is flying to the edge of space, it has to be celebrated. But should we be confusing it for real feminist milestones, or should we be calling it what it is? The fact that this shows us, if not anything else, that women can also enjoy capitalism and the hedonistic indulgences that come with capitalism just as much as men. So rich women can enjoy these things as much as rich men can enjoy these things. Is that really the argument that we should be having, and not making it seem like it's a giant leap for women in aerospace, which it is not? And I want to point out this Vanity Fair article to you. It came out in 2021, where a bunch of former employees of Blue Origin, which is the company that owns this spacecraft, wrote an essay calling Blue Origin as a company sexist, and I'm quoting here, toxic, that cares more about beating fellow billionaires to the game than actual flight safety. In this essay, where 24 former employees wrote about the company, they said the business is described as a terrifying environment for women and for people relying on the second richest man in the world to get them to and from space in one piece. It said the Blue Origin's 3,600 plus person workforce is mostly male and overwhelmingly white, and 100% of their senior technical team and program leaders are men, and they have a clear bias against women. So only within this company, obviously this is tokenism, and the real story is very, very different from what the women are saying. Now, apart from that, let's take a look at aerospace as a sector across the world. Overall, women account for 20 to 22% of the entire workforce, apparently. Much worse, the numbers are worse at the leadership. NASA women make up about 34%, but in technical roles, it comes down to 24%. In the UK space sector, women account for 29%. In European Union, women are 20% or less. Among astronauts globally, only 11% of the individuals who have ever traveled to space are women. In NASA, women are about 10% of the astronauts. So obviously, there is a lot of work to be done when it comes to aerospace, and when it comes to making a statement of finding a foothold for women in space. But for the women on board this particular aircraft, they turned around. Gail King said this was a journey and not a joyride. The other women have said that we're not going to let, the criticism online in any way, dampen our joy from making this journey. But I want to point out at the same time, in NASA, because of the new government under Trump, there are women astronauts and employees who are being fired because they're being considered DEI, and that's a new policy that has come in. There's one, actually, Neela Rajendra, who's an Indian origin senior official at NASA, who was recently dismissed because they withdrew their DEI proposals. And she apparently designed the Office Team of Excellence, Employee Success under NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and she's just been removed from that role. So there's a lot of work to be done within the space exploration sector or within the aerospace sector. There's a lot of work to be done for women across the world if we want to make a feminism statement here. But let's not dismiss these 6 women and the journey or the ride that they have made, and acknowledge it for what it is, which is that if there are rich men going to space, rich women can also go to space. And that is where we have found equality, where in the sector of the richest people on earth. I want to know what you think, though. Do you think that this is a step for feminism or for women? Or do you believe that people who are criticizing should really mind their own business?